I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight it will be the stars and cars of the TNT Shock Series, coming to you from Myrtle Beach Speedway, the late, great Myrtle Beach Speedway. Opened in 1958, closed in 2020. The NASCAR sanction transferring over to the Florence Motor Speedway under the same promoter group that held Myrtle Beach. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth as always by Mr. Patrick Byrne, and we're looking forward to a really, really good show here tonight. Looking forward to getting Bizzle back in the booth here in just a moment or so. Qualifications, getting ready to head out on to the racetrack. Let's pick up Mr. Brian LaBarge. He will be the first one getting out on to the racetrack here this evening. And this place is going to be tricky, challenging, difficult. Survival is one of the words that a lot of these drivers are using. Going to be incredibly difficult. Potentially a lot of laps you could run. Wes Shire well up over 120 laps in practice in a single run. Really kind of hearing the number that you're kind of looking at is more going to be in the ballpark of 80 to 90 laps is what these drivers are going to be able to do on a on a tire run. You can actually go a handful of laps longer on fuel as Brian LaBarge loops it off of turn number 4. Oh, that is not the way you want to start the run there. Let's pick up Wes Shire as Dakota Mata went top of the board, 16.886. Now we'll pick up Vic Aldrich in the number 98. Vic currently timing in 6th quick at a 17.216. Let's see, man, we got a bunch of cars that are already finishing up their qualification laps. Let's pick up Dakota DeMeg just starting lap number 2. Nate Siefker has 2 wins and 2 starts on the season. He's going to be 3rd quick and only about 20 thousandths of a second back. Man, and things are getting tight at the front. Oh, up and over the Turtles in 1 and 2 goes Dakota DeMeg. Let's pick up now. Let's see, the 44, Derek Castor is on pit lane. The 3 of Jason Miller is on pit lane. So we'll pick up Stephen C. Thompson, who is now working lap number 1. Jason Owens timing in 8th quick. See, lap number 1 for Stephen C. Thompson is going to be good enough for 7th quick, 16.940 seconds. And actually, yeah, that's going to be lap number 2 for Thompson. Let's pick up Derek Castor. He has just completed lap number 1. Derek Castor to the top of the chart, 16.889. That's in terms of outright raw pace, though. Looking at the average of the laps, which is the important one that we have because this is 2-lap average qualifying as Ben Carswell gets out onto the racetrack. The 81 of Andrew Berry will be at the top of the board. The Team Watson Racing setups number 48 of Carswell. Off of turn number 2 and now down all the way quickly already into turns 3 and 4. Carswell going to move up into, well, let's see, in terms of outright pace, position number 14, as we are down to about 5 minutes or so remaining in the qualifying session. Seeing Ed McCullen checking in the comments. This is going to be a thing tonight. Yes, it is. I'm interested to see what these drivers can do because M is handling the race control duties tonight, and quite frankly, a lot to discuss with these drivers. Getting on and off a pit road under green flag is going to be very challenging. Lots of give was the message that we were hearing race control was giving these drivers in the drivers meeting as well, and basically it was kind of a lot of don't be dumb, you can't win the race super early, it is a very long one. We'll see how well these drivers are going to play out with that here this evening. 2 drivers have not been on the racetrack as it stands right now. Corey Hartz is listed as being in the session. He has not turned a time yet in qualifications. RJ Hetge very graciously agreeing to bow out of competition tonight. Connection issues on car number 350. And quite frankly, I think all the other competitors are appreciating that move by RJ Hetke because this place is going to be incredibly tricky. We saw Brian Labarge. He's one of the quickest in this field. And he looped it off of turn number 4. You can spin in turns 1 and 2. It's just as easy to loop the car through turns 3 and 4. The potential is there for this to be an absolutely ugly mess tonight. So we'll just have to see how this one plays out here. But still 3.5 seconds remaining in qualifications. Let's take a look, see if we can't get a quick word in here with James Watson. Depending on which timing screen I'm looking at, I'm seeing James is either 3rd quick or 6th quick. One of them is sorted based on outright lap speed, I think, is where the issue comes. But, James, how is that number 39 machine tonight? It seems like this really could be an adventure for everybody.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty decent. You know, never actually raced here before, and true short tracks in this league can get a bit sketchy. So it's gonna be interesting one to see. Yeah, unfortunately, I am starting 6th. The fact that I had the 3rd fastest lap makes really even more not happy that we had 2-lap average qualifying.
Well, yes, at least you remembered to turn the 2nd lap this time. But still only 56 thousandths off in terms of the outright pace. What do you think we're going to see here tonight, though? Because we've heard that you can possibly make the outside pass, but that's not necessarily a guarantee that it's going to stick.
Yeah, I mean, it is typically how you pass around here, but the tire life that's just going to be sapped from you doing so, it just may not be necessary. It's something you want to do, truthfully.
Well, yeah, we will have to see how this one plays out here tonight. But, James, thank you very much for coming up and checking in the booth with us here early on. And, Bizzle, we've got you ready to go with us now here, I think. And you were in the room with these guys as well. There was a lot going on, both setup-wise, trying to figure out how to just dial the car in, and at the same time also just not have mass carnage in the corners as well.
Yeah, these guys are going to have a very, very tough time. There's bumps all over this track. They're calling them turtles. Kind of similar to the turtles you see at the Charlotte Roval, where they're just hitting them and it's spinning the car in a loop. So expecting either a lot of cautions tonight or no cautions tonight, and there's going to be nothing in between.
Yes. I think you're probably right there. What would be interesting is if we see this race go just absolutely full green. I don't think there's a prayer that it happens, but if things get really wild then. The track bar checking in the comments, giving some love for Derek Castor here at the top of the board. He will be your quick timer here this evening as we are down to 25 seconds remaining in qualifications. Nobody is out on the racetrack, so means the 44 of Derek Castor will put that machine up onto the front row here this evening at Myrtle Beach. So as the field's going to get ready to head to the grid, you'll see the clock expire, and it is time to go TNT Shock Series racing here from the late great Myrtle Beach Speedway. I'm seeing some of the comments in the Discord saying that there's a reason this place is a housing development now. It's not a housing development. They couldn't even get that pulled off. They closed the racetrack needlessly. I'm not bitter or anything, but all right. Well, we get everybody out onto the speedway. No, oh my gosh, I love this racetrack. Absolutely fantastic. Let's take a look at our starting grid here this evening. Starting on the pole out of Omaha, Nebraska for Suss Motor Club. Seats, Harbor Freight, DeWalt Tools on the side of his number 44. It belongs to Derek Castor. Starting on the outside of row number 1 out of Poughkeepsie, New York, driving for Rukon Racing. It is the Homestead Coffee Roasters, Tales from Rukon, number 16 of West Shire. Row number 2 will have the number 81 of Andrew Berry, lining up alongside of the number 2 of New Sharon, Iowa's Nate Siefker, driving for Team Watson Racing and Alpine Stars on the side of that number 2 machine. Lining up on row number 3 will be James Curtis and James Watson. Row number 4 will see Simon Fell and Stephen C. Thompson. Row number 5 going to be Dakota DeMeg for Sunset Arctic Gaming alongside of the Team Extra Life Riley Children's Foundation number 87 of Jason Owens. Row 6, the Team Watson Racing setups number 98 of Victor Aldrich, lining up alongside of the Pennzoil Yellow Submarine belonging to Joseph Heath. Row 7, J.W. Miller, another Team Watson Racing setups guy, lining up alongside of the number 48 of Ben Carswell. Row number 8, Tommy Cook, alongside of Jason Miller. Row 9, Dakota Mata and AJ Camargo, Brian Labarge, Zach Nurenberger towards the back of the field. Corey Hartz will be the last car on the grid as the field is coming through 3 and 4. Pace car is in. Green flag goes in the air, and we are underway here at Myrtle Beach. Good start for Derek Castor. He will lead the field down to turn number 1. West Shire falling back in line behind Andrew Barry. James Watson having a look down to the inside. Dakota DeMeg inside of Jason Owens, it looks like there, through turns 1 and 2. Man, they're still 2x2. A long way back through this pack. And I'll tell you what, Bizzle, we talked a little bit in the pre-race about the need for give and take. You need to give. That is like a non-negotiable here around this place.
Yeah, if someone sneaks their nose underneath you, you have to let them have it. if you squeeze them and force them to run over those bumps on some of the exits to the corners, not only are they going to wreck themselves, but they're going to spin out and they're going to take you out when they Gordon Smiley the car back up the racetrack.
Well, here we go. Early trouble. Zach Nuremberger having an issue, possibly also Brian Labarge involved in this one. Let's take a look at it from the overhead. Oh, just two cars going for one piece of real estate. Wow, both of those cars are going to be used up too. Absolutely junked race cars very early on here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. While we have a second here under caution, we are going to take a, well, quite frankly, a very short break here. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the TNT Shock Series right here on the National Racing Network. All right, we told you it was going to be a short break. Had a, I think a little bit of a configuration issue here with iRacing not behaving well with us as we get this race started. But there's a look at Derek Castor in the number 44. He's going to be your race leader at this point. M. McCullen checking in. I am concerned my throw yellow flag button is going to wear out tonight. Possibly. The track bar, seats mentioned it. Yes, we mentioned it. He listed it as a sponsor. Of course, we're going to talk about your sponsors. But now, Bizzle, the other thing that really is going to come into play here is it's a 50-minute race. The drivers have 3 sets of tires in the box. However, the more you heat cycle these things, it could potentially get really, really ugly for these drivers if we're going to go 5 laps in a caution, 6 laps in a caution. It's just long enough to get them up to full temperature, and then you're right back to cooling them back off again.
Yeah, and TNT now uses limited sets of tires, so you kind of got to pick and choose when you're going to put new fresh rubber on that car.
Yeah, a little bit of a discussion. Do you make it a 2-stop race and save a set for the end? Do you just make it a 3-stop race? We'll have to see how that shakes out here. But pace car is in. Derek Castor back on the loud pedal. Good start for James Watson. He's having a look down to the inside of James Curtis to turn number 1. Curtis, a long history here with multiple race wins in the Shock Series. Going to possibly bring Simon Fellwitham through on the inside here too, but Curtis doing a nice job holding on to that outside lane. Sort of like we talked about with Watson in the interview though, Bizzle, is that you can run the outside, just is it worth it? Oh, buddy, little bit of left side love in there from Curtis on Watson.
I want to say James Curtis is the only guy in this TNT series who'll be running the exact same paint scheme that he started with. Maybe Simon Fell, but other than those two, I think everyone else has gone through a handful of paint schemes.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch the development of the league here, as we have a 4-car breakaway at the front of the field. It's Derek Castor, Wes Shire, Andrew Berry, Nate Siefker, all nose to tail. Now here we're still buttoned up. Side by side, Fell able to get around Watson for the 6th position. Stephen C. Thompson going to be right there as well. As Wes Shire sets a new fastest lap of the race out of the 2nd position. I think the guys that may have the best chance here tonight, Bizzle, are, quite frankly, the guys who were able to turn a lot of laps consecutively in practice. That was Andrew Berry, Wes Shire. I would also say Brian Labarge. He got a very long run in as well, but unfortunately Brian out of this race after the early incident. It's really going to be interesting to watch how these guys handle a car that maybe you don't know how evil it gets late in the run.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very scary night to run these cars. frankly, I'm glad I'm not any of these drivers.
Yeah, let's take a look at the weather conditions here tonight. 66-degree ambient temperature, almost nice 68-degree track temperature under partly cloudy skies. Low humidity, a little bit of a breeze out of the northwest, but really almost optimal in terms of trying to make tires last for the long run. They're going to build heat slowly, and you can try to manage them a little bit that way. It's a whole lot easier to manage tires when it's 70 degrees versus, the 100 degrees we saw last night with the Silver Crowns.
Yeah, when track temperature is only 70 degrees, you're not just going to be overheating them just by running laps. You're going to have to actually try to overheat them. So either your setup's not good, putting way too much wheel into it, getting on the gas too quickly, those things are going to overheat your tires a little bit.
Let's take a look and go on board here with Stephen C. Thompson. And you can hear him almost no throttle through the middle point of the corner. Taking a look out the front, there's Dakota DeMag just ahead, but he really can't give up much because you look out the rear end and there's Ben Carswell. And this place is really tough because as we look out the nose camera again here, you look into turn number 1 and it looks like it's inviting down there. Until you see those turtles, you cannot hit the curbs in turn number 1. On the flip side, down here in 3 and 4, you've got a wall. There is basically no apron on the inside. It's really an interesting layout for these drivers to have to contend with.
Yeah, this track is a very, very unique one, and it's not a perfectly shaped oval. I don't even want to call it a D-shaped oval because it's not symmetrical in any way you look at it. Every corner of the dog leg of this track, it's almost like Phoenix, but even Phoenix, I would say, is more symmetrical than this place.
Yeah, turn 1 and turn 2 are different. They may be connected to each other, but they're very much different in how you have to run them. The same thing's true for 3 and 4, and we haven't even gotten to it yet, but these guys are going to have to start thinking pit stops eventually. There's your pit entry, right at the entrance of turn 3, basically. You will give up multiple laps on the field if you have to make a green flag pit stop.
Yeah, so you're pretty much sitting there waiting for that caution to come out. And you know it's going to come out. This track is so difficult. These guys are all over the place, so I don't think you're worried about having to make a green flag pit stop, but by sitting out there and waiting and hoping for a caution, most of the time you end up being the caution, so
that is
a very, very tough night for everyone.
That is correct. Actually, we had a couple of passes for the race lead here. Pick up West Shire, coming around Derek Castor off of turn number 4. That's put Shire into the race lead. Then it wasn't much longer, though, until we get Andrew Berry coming around at West Shire, doing a bit of the same thing, picking up the race lead, this time into turn number 3. Big send up the inside. Berry, almost a little bit of a soft slide job into turn number 3. He grabs the race lead. So now it's going to be Berry, Shire, and Castor, your top 3, as we are almost 10 minutes in to this third TNT Shock Series race of the season. We mentioned in the gridding and in the opener, Nate Siefker, 2 starts, 2 wins here in the TNT Series. But because of the way that the league works with the drop rules, the drop races, he's actually not sitting on that commanding of a point lead. Siefker sitting on 45 points to Nagisa Yoshikawa and James Watson's 38 points. Then you go back to Jason Owens, Dakota DeMag, tied for 4th on 33. This really is about the deepest I've seen this field in the Shock Series. I would even say in some respects deeper than what we see in the officials in a lot of cases.
Well, we're getting pretty much all of the official series drivers and then some here in the TNT series. So you're having all of the best talents to ever drive this car, who currently still drive this car, and even just dabble in it. These are some of the best guys on the iRacing surface when it comes to the open wheel oval side.
Yeah, it is. I mean, heck, we talk about Ben Carswell and Stephen C. Thompson being up towards the front of the field during oval weeks in the officials. These guys are running 9th and 10th on the racetrack right now as we are working lap number 35. And at this point, everybody has single filed out. We'll slide forward, pick up James Curtis and Simon Fell. That's the battle for the 5th position. These guys are only a 10th and change apart. Call it 2 car lengths into turn number 1. The tricky part is you kind of have to get into a little bit of self-preservation mode, because now if you think you're going to get a long green flag run, it very well could come down to who can manage the tires the best and who can get this out to now potentially 110 laps before we see a pit stop.
Oh man, I know Wes was able to do it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, the number was kind of, we were thinking between 80 to 90 laps is where we would start to really see the fall off in some of these cars. Factor in the pit stop, you're still kind of pushing it to maybe lap 90, but you're not even halfway there yet. And some of these guys, I mean, James Watson is down 2 spots from where he started tonight in 6th. Was up towards the front on the initial start, and then we have just been slowly watching him creep back as we see Robert Drew up into the outside wall.
Yeah, very, very easy to get yourself up into that wall, and it's almost easy just to end your race just like that.
Yeah, I would imagine that turns into a meatball pretty quickly. And then you're into how long does the crew decide before they're going to let you back out onto the racetrack. As we see Watson now battling with Stephen C. Thompson in this fight for the 9th position. Derek Castor falling back off of the race leaders. He's now sitting about 1.3 seconds back of race leader Andrew Berry. A caution is out. Yellow flag is on the speedway for the 2nd time tonight. Possibly trouble for J.W. Miller. Let's take a look at it here on the NRN instant replay. May have had some contact with the AJ Camargo. Off at turn number 2. Oh, big twitch. Camargo got a little piece of it. But that will put us under the yellow flag. Maybe not too much damage. But now we are going to see, well, we're going to see a handful of cars on pit lane. Westshire, Andrew Berry elect to stay out. Derek Castor is on pit lane. Actually, seeing Andrew Berry also on pit lane, it looks like as well. Nate Siefker, Simon Feld, Dakota DeMake, Ben Carswell, James Watson. Not only is this a chance to take tires and fuel bizzle, but do what you can adjustments-wise that the crew can handle. Now maybe you can try to get the car working a little bit better.
Yeah, there's not a whole ton of adjustments you can make in the PM18, but there is the front and rear wing adjustments that maybe if your car is understeering a little bit, you can add a little bit more front wing, and you can also make a tire pressure change too.
So the first bit of strategy call, race leader Andrew Berry elects to come down pit lane. As it stands right now, Westshire, James Curtis, and Stephen C. Thompson are the 3 cars, and also Jason Miller in 4th. 4 cars electing not to come down pit lane this time. Dakota Mata also electing to stay out onto the racetrack. He is going to be basically at the blend line, and that will put him back into the 8th position. Everybody else has made at least 1 pit stop. I would tend to think, I sort of like the call by Wes, Curtis, and Thompson here to stay out, because you're not even halfway through what should be the tire run. I get we're down in below 35 minutes remaining, but if you want to make this a 2-stop race, I think you need to go a little bit deeper before you make that stop.
I'm not sure making it a two-stop is really going to matter. We're not even halfway in this one. We've had a whole bunch of cautions, a good deal of attrition. I say if you have the extra tires in the box, go ahead, take them, make this a three-stop race if you want to.
Yeah, the only problem is if you get caught back in the pack, you just can't make the ground up. We'll see how Andrew Berry, Derek Castor, Nate Siefka are able to cut their way through traffic. They've only got a handful of cars to pass. But that handful still could be enough. So for the restart, it will be single file. Everybody is going to get themselves up by the outside concrete retaining wall at the entrance to turn number 3. Wes Shire, pace car's in and Shire's gone. He jumps on it super quick. No restart zone here. Green flag is out. And Wes Shire opens up a huge lead, and we are back under caution. Caution is on the speedway. See if we get word from race control here of what that may have been. If you could drop that in the broadcast text chat, we would appreciate that one. If it was called a jump start by Wes Shire, is there a penalty that is assessed with that, or is it just a warning? But let's welcome in another member of the broadcast team here, Brian Labarge. Unfortunately, out of this race early, looking like you're going to finish in the 20th position tonight. Just a tough deal there early on in this race, Brian.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's kind of a bummer, too, because I felt like during all the practice sessions, the race pace was there to be competitive, which in a war of attrition, which I think this race is going to turn out to be. I think that that was half the equation. The other half was just surviving, and I did not have a very good qualifying. I spun it in the last corner, and then got put in the back of the pack. And then my strategy then was going to be just sit and wait, and be patient, and racing incident. So.
Tough break there for you, and I don't know if either of you guys have the sim open, but did we hear a reason for the caution? I did not see anything on our events list. Not sure if race control came over and mentioned the reason for the caution, but yeah, now getting down here towards within striking distance of the halfway point. I would think for somebody like Wes Shire, James Curtis, Stephen C. Thompson, maybe not the worst strategy call here, because at this point they may be able to make this a one-stop race. Everybody that stopped with 35 minutes left, I think, may have to stop again.
I would have to absolutely agree with that, because at this point, there's an outside chance if this happens, a couple more cautions, you may be able to make this on fuel, or at least you could be able to conceivably stretch it out enough where you make one more stop with around 20 minutes to go, and that would cover you for fuel and one remaining set of tires. So I think that if anybody in this group can make it to the 20-minute mark, I think they're going to be in great shape.
Well, lights are out on the iRacing safety car. So we will get ready to go back to green flag racing. Reason for the caution, let's see. Yeah, I didn't even see the passes happening either. Looks like Derek Castor having a spin in traffic. We'll get back to that one. Wes Shire's got to be frustrated with that, because he absolutely smoked the field on the last restart, and it looks like he's going to do it again. Huge lead for Wes Shire, 0.8 of a second before they get to turn number 1. Curtis, Thompson, Miller, Berry, Siefker back through the 6th position.
I'm almost wondering if Curtis was just either in the wrong gear, because it looked like he timed it okay.
Yeah, I have done that before, where you keep it in these cars. You'll keep it in fifth gear as long as possible, and then you drop it back to first, whatever second gear that you're going to restart in. But if you're in the middle of those changes when the leader takes off, it kind of leaves you in a lurch.
Yeah.
Oh, we are back under caution once again, and trouble this time looks like for Dakota Mata and Jason Heath having an issue here. Let's take a look and see what happened. Possibly Jason Owens may have gotten a piece of this as well. Mata way down to the inside. Oh, one car way slow getting back on the racetrack.
Was that Jason Miller coming back on from earlier incident?
May have been J.W. Miller, but kind of Kevin LePage the field there in turn 2. See if we can't get another look at it here from, well, we'll say a different angle. Let's pick up and see if it was J.W. Miller. Oh, yeah, clip the turtles. And at that point, absolutely no control of the race car.
Oh, and Heath
had already spun around, yeah. Wow, that is a mess.
And I tell you what, it is so difficult it's very easy to come out of pit lane and not do that. Yeah, because you want to get out there as soon as you can, but you have to really be patient on the throttle when you come back out onto the back straight there.
Well, and now, Bizzle, you almost have to start to think. You play that strategy game. If you're one of these guys who stopped on lap number 44, you're loving this. Because the guys that have not stopped yet are either, they're really close to being forced into try to stretch to the end, or they're going to have to stop, and they're going to fall all the way to the back of this field.
Hey, now.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck at this point.
Speaking from experience, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, you've made your bed, now lay in it.
Yep, pretty much.
This is going to be an interesting one to watch. I mean, we're only a minute and 15 seconds or so away from the halfway point of this race. And quite frankly, I don't know that things necessarily get any easier for the TNT Shock guys as well, because next week, we're off the next 2 weeks, we come back with a visit to Willow Springs on October 17th. For a crew that doesn't do a lot of road course racing, Willow's pretty and fast, but there are so many spots on that racetrack to screw it up. As we get ready to go back green flag racing once again, man, West Shire again just absolutely smokes James Curtis off the line. Andrew Berry having the look inside of Jason Miller for the 4th position. Miller now going to try to cross under Stephen C. Thompson. What a move by Miller. Oh, and Miller saves it.
Nice save. That is amazing.
There's no way he didn't hit anything.
He did not. He's all the way to the back of the field. And one car absolutely...
I think that was Dakota.
Dakota DeMeg hard into the outside wall, but we will stay under green. Let's go on board here with Nate Siefker entering the night as your points leader, trying to catch Andrew Berry, but he's also got Stephen C. Thompson lurking. Man, Ben Carswell now going to have the look inside of Thompson. Nice pass by Carswell there into turn 1.
Also, that was some great graphics work right there.
You like that?
Shout out to the NRA for doing that one.
Yeah, hey, sometimes when we show up, we're not bad at this. Trouble on the racetrack. We are under yellow once again. Possibly an incident this time for Robert Drew. Take a look and see what happened here. Drew's down to the inside. The 27 of Dakota Mata is there. Also Jason Miller in the 3. Oh, just a little clip on the curb. Oh, 3 wides, not always smart. Little contact.
Nope.
Oh, and then
Yeah, this. You can't park there.
No, you can't park there, but Tommy Cook sliding into that one as well.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast that you gotta give and you gotta take, where you can, or just give, and that was not a give moment.
Well, now at just past the halfway point, West Shire elects to come down and do his pit service. James Curtis, Stephen C. Thompson, also on pit lane. So it's going to shuffle the field up a little bit again, and I'll tell you what, Biz, I have to be a little bit concerned here for West Shire. He's going to have to come from 11th, avoid any potential messes in front of him, and have enough tires saved to try to take the fight to Andrew Berry and Nate Siefker.
Guys like Andrew Berry, he's very, very difficult to beat. Nate Siefker, the newcomer to the TNT series, he's already won the first 2 races of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out there and just gets a 3rd effortlessly.
Also, remember that at this point here, you have to wonder about their tires as well, because these guys were part of the crew that pitted a little on the earlier side, so you have to wonder. You have to figure that Shire's probably good to go from here to the end of the race. They almost hit that 20-minute mark that I was talking about earlier, so it's conceivable that he could make up those spots if this group here has to make another pit stop, which is very likely unless we keep getting a series of cautions.
And even still, you got to think about heat cycling. I mean, you're talking, 3 additional heat cycles on the tires for Andrew Berry, Siefker, and Carswell, as opposed to the guys who just stopped now. That will make a big difference later on in this race.
Yeah. And, it's looking like, you had 3 sets of tires for this race, so, do the leaders come in, when it's advantageous and throw on a brand new set? Could be possible.
The track bar saying, "Let's go Dakota," since my other teammate got murdered. Yeah, Derek Castor back there now in the 17th position. And looks like on pit lane still, but Fields now really, oh man, they're almost making contact under yellow. Andrew Berry really bringing the field down slow. Takes it all the way to the green flag point. We are back underway. James Watson was kind of in the middle of that accordion under yellow. I don't see any damage on that number 39 machine. Oh man, back behind him. This is an absolute hornet's nest. West Shire looking outside of Jason Owens. Jason Miller up around the outside of Owens as well. Some of these cars trying to get themselves back on the lead lap. Jason Miller being the one right in the middle of that pack. Joseph Heath running 10th of the Yellow Submarine, followed by James Curtis. Tell you what, though, West Shire starting to make the charge forward. He looks inside of Vic Aldrich off of 2.
Everyone's back into their single file lines again.
Yeah, this is kind of where you start to wonder, is Shire going to be able to make up the ground? He's only 4 seconds back. 4 seconds doesn't sound like a lot. But when you're turning laps in the 16.8 range, and you've only got 19 minutes left, Bizzle, there's not a lot of time left for Wes Shire to pick his way through this field.
No, he's got to be on the button, forcing his way up through. Not creeping, picking his way through everyone, but he's got to slam the door open and run right through it.
Had a little bit of side-by-side action here back in the pack. Jason Owens, James Curtis, Stephen C. Thompson were all fighting for position. At the front of the field, it's only 1.7 seconds from Andrew Berry back to 5th place, James Watson. Then we get a little bit of a gap back to the AJ Camargo. It's about 1.1 seconds there. Nate Siefker already up underneath of the attenuator, under the gearbox of Andrew Berry. Oh man, they almost make contact off of 2.
Good illustration there, showing that the high line, or what qualifies as a high line there, really isn't all that much faster. You can pretty much, kind of stay with it the whole way around, but you're really not going to get much additional benefit by going out there.
Now Siefker going to be able to have the look inside of Berry. Berry just about slams the door closed. Oh man, that's tight. With the amount of net code we've seen in these cars over the last couple of weeks, Bizzle, it's something that you really just go, man, it almost makes you a little hesitant.
Yeah, these things seem to be really, really susceptible to net code right now. So yeah, I wouldn't want to run a quarter of an inch away from another driver. I almost want to give an extra car with space between me and someone else.
Siefker almost bended off at turn number 2 that time. Has allowed Ben Carswell and Simon Fell to catch right back up. It's about 3/4 of a second between Simon Fell and James Watson. Back to the 5th position. But Brian, this is where we talk about the more, if they really start to battle at the front, it's not going to be a 2-car race for the win. We're looking at a 5-car race for the win.
Right, and well, let's put it this way: they'll get themselves up there, and as we just saw a couple laps ago, that you can catch up to the car in front of you, but getting around them is going to be very difficult if the pace is similar, because if you have, or let's put it this way, if you have cars that are on similar strategies and similar tire lives and similar fuel levels, the pace differential is going to be relatively negligible. So I have a feeling that most of the passes that you're going to get are going to be cars that are in different points in their strategy and different points in their tire life, or if someone just flat out makes a mistake because their tires are worn out. So if everyone is kind of doing about the same strategy, then it really comes down to just get yourself in the best position possible and just see what happens.
The AJ Camargo, currently the hard charger of this race, up 12 positions to run in 6th. But he's got Wes Shire looking outside, looking inside, looking just about everywhere he can. Man, Shire almost puts it up into the retaining wall, exiting turn number 4. Looks way high through 1 and 2. Maybe trying to set up the crossover into turn 3. Just not there. Has to kind of back out of it again. And Bizzle, this is really not what Wes needs to see right now. He needs to see that door open. Just like you said, force it open there into turn 1, make the pass, and go.
Yeah. Excuse me. At this point, if he wants to stay on top of the points, it's do or die. You have to go out there and take it, and either you're going to go and get it, or you're going to crash out and finish poorly, just like you kind of are right now. A 6th place finish, while it's great with the field of drivers as strong as these guys, it's not going to be good enough, especially when you have Nate Siefker winning every single race so far.
Yeah, Siefker has 2 starts, 2 wins on the season. Andrew Barry, taking a look at where he sits in the points standings, he is currently 6th. Barry does have a bonus point, but he's only 15 points back and looks to potentially claim some additional bonus points here tonight, as Barry has now led 48 laps with 13 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Oh, Siefker up over the Turtles in 1 and 2.
Living dangerously.
Yeah. And now, Brian, I'm starting to think these guys are 54 laps into this tire set. I would think fuel would be an okay number to get to the end. But, and the big but of it is, can you make the tires last that long?
If these guys pitted at how many minutes into it? They were at like, what, the 35-minute mark they pitted?
I think so, right about there.
Yeah, so if they pitted at the 35 mark and if they put a full tank of fuel in, they're going to be good to go at the end. The question is did they short fill because they knew they were never going to make a set of tires last on a full tank of fuel? We know that's not possible, so there's a very real chance that they might have only put, say, 25 liters in, and then in that case, yeah, they're cutting it awfully close on fuel. But my guess is that at this point, this is the time if you're going to come in to put new tires on, it'd have to be now to make any sort of use of them. Otherwise, you're just going to have to hang out and hope you saved enough.
Yeah, because I'm seeing it looks potentially as many as 102 laps on this stint of this set of tires. We saw Wes Shire do it in practice, but he was running 18 and change second laps over the end of that run. It may not be much, but it's about 25 lap difference on the tires between Wes Shire and the rest of the field.
Yeah, so I have to imagine, or at least I know from what I was doing on testing, that once you start getting into the 60 to 70 lap territory on those tires, that's pretty much where I think the clip tends to be.
Wow, Wes Shire,
there you
ballsy
go.
move outside of James Watson in 4 that time.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at lap times here, because I have to imagine that Shire's probably in the 16.9s right now, and I don't know what Barry and Siefker are doing right now, but I have to imagine they're probably in that range, probably closer to 17s at this point.
Yeah, actually it's really interesting. They're about running identical lap times. The 5-lap average for Andrew Barry is a 16.905. The 5-lap average for Wes Shire is a 16.962. It's a little bit faster, but it's not that much faster. But the only thing that I can think of is that these guys they're going to hit the cliff. It's a matter of, is it going to happen within the next 10 minutes or not?
Right. And I think you're seeing that right now, just even looking at the pace of Fell and Watson right now. I mean, they, say nothing of the fact that they're battling with Shire right now, but if Shire wasn't there, they still, the gap back was still 2.5 seconds back between Carswell, back that way. So I think you're seeing their tires are pretty shot at this point too.
Yeah, in fact, I think we may be seeing it here out of Nate Siefker, because Ben Carswell has made up a ton of ground on the number 2 machine, and he looks a little bit twitchy off the corners. Yeah, just really pushing hard at the exit of turn number 4. And they're having to run a little bit higher lane, to the point that Wes Shire is really starting to close in on both of these guys. He's now inside of 2 seconds to the race leader.
If he catches up to the back of Carswell by the 6-minute mark, I'd say that he's got a very good chance at this win.
what becomes interesting is who is able to make these tires last, because the next car in line that stopped at lap number, that has 44 laps on the tires, is Stephen C. Thompson back in the 9th position, and he's 8 seconds back of the race leader. But Bizzle, like we talked about before, this pit lane is so long, you're going to probably lose 2 laps coming in to make a pit stop.
Yeah, you pretty much enter right there on the backstretch and crawl the entire way around. So you see that green cone where they enter in turn 1. I believe the pit road speed limit here is 30 miles an hour, 35. So absolute crawl around this racetrack.
The pit lane time on average is about 35 seconds. At 16, 17 second laps, that puts you right square in the window of going 2 laps down if you have to make a stop. And they're also, again, starting to work their way through lap traffic here at the front, as we are down to just over 8 minutes remaining in this one. West Shire really close to Ben Carswell now, about 3/10 and a little bit of change separating those 2 cars. And it's so hard, Brian, because if you're Wes, you have to drive hard, but you can't drive too hard that your tires cliff at the same time that theirs do.
You know, with a 25 lap offset between them, I think that he has the ability to push a little bit harder. You know, what was it? Let's see, 1.7 between Steve Kerr and Barry. You know, there's a, if he pushes, you know, I think clearing the next 2 cars in the next couple of minutes is probably going to give him the best shot, and then he can go and just empty the tires out, because the worst that, well, there's a lot of worsts, but you know, at that point, and oh, there you go. Andrew Berry's doing a 16.663.
I was going to say, new
lap of the race.
fast lap of the race with 77 laps on his tires.
Yeah, so, you know, it may be at the point now where, you know, Shire's just, you know, if he can get up to 2nd place and call it a day, that might be the best that he's going to do now, because that's, yeah, 2.5 seconds. I don't think Steve Skerr's got anything left in those tires at all.
Now the question becomes, if we get a caution flag, who comes and takes tires? Because at the 5-minute mark, we go to the quickie yellow procedure. Basically, first time by, we're going to get the 1 to go signal. So you may not even have time to make a pit stop.
No, the only time you'd be pitting then is basically you've got nothing left and it's an emergency at that point, or you're just about out of fuel.
Shire inside of Carswell. Nice pass through 1 and 2. Now he's going to go to work on Nate Siefker.
At the 6-minute mark.
I was going to say, man, it's almost like you know what you're doing here.
Oh, if I knew what I was doing, I would have won last week.
Shire holding the inside lane on Siefker all the way around the racetrack. Siefker able to keep the momentum up on the outside, though, and holds the spot at the line. Shire almost able to clear. Now well, I thought he did into turn 3. Oh, Siefker may have gotten a piece of the wall that time. As Carswell goes through, it's a blue light special, 2 for 1 off of Nate Siefker. But now West Shire's got to make up 3.3 seconds in the next 5 minutes. That's a big ask.
I know you've got timing and scoring up, but, you know, what are we looking at for last 5 lap averages?
Well, I think they're a little bit skewed. Andrew Berry, 5-lap average, 16.863. West Shire, 16.848. But Shire was battling in traffic for a lot of that as well. Last lap by, it was a 16.9 for Berry, a 16.7 for Shire. 2/10 is not going to get the job done.
I mean, he's taken 3/10 out of it, but That's you're right. If he can make it under 2 seconds, I think that'd probably be pretty reasonable. And but I don't see him making any mistakes. He's not going to get challenged by any of the cars behind him because they're all on the different tire strategies.
Yeah, we're starting to see the numbers cycle back through a little bit here. It's now a 16.9 5-lap average for Andrew Berry and a 16.95, basically a 17 flat for Andrew Berry, and a 16.806 for Wes Shire over the 10-lap average. The 5-lap average, it's the same. It's about 2.5 tenths a lap that Shire is making up. It's almost as if Andrew Berry said, my shot here is to try to go set some qualifying laps and hope he doesn't catch me. But if we get a yellow, I might be out to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Carswell coming around Jason Owens. Nate Siefker able to get around also.
That gap's coming down. It's 2.2.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey,
Can you make that up in 3 minutes and have the time to get by him?
that's an excellent question, but it's coming down. I mean, it's at 1.8. You can see him on the straights. I don't know how much time Barry lost trying to get around Heath, but I mean, it's now it's at 1.6.
Yeah, the 5-lap average is now 3 tenths a lap that Wes Shire is gaining. Same thing in the 10-lap average as well. I don't remember if we implemented an overtime rule or not, but now we're to the point that I don't even know we would get back to green flag racing if we did get a caution flag. There you just briefly saw race leader Andrew Berry. He's off into turn 1. Shire's got the gap inside of 2 seconds. And this, quite frankly, is a really impressive drive from Andrew Berry because he's now put 96 laps on this set of tires. We did see the meatball possibly become a factor. Oh, and Andrew Berry's on pit lane. Is Andrew Berry out of fuel? Your race leader is on pit lane. Heartbreak for Andrew Berry. Just over 60 seconds remaining. Wes Shire will claim the race lead. Ben Carswell now right about 8 tenths of a second back. Are any of these other cars going to have to stop for fuel?
Ooh, that's gutting. Absolutely gutting.
Almost makes you wonder if could you have saved enough in those 3 or 4 qualifying laps to make it that extra 60 seconds?
Maybe, but I mean,
that's what, 4 laps of fuel?
Yeah, right about that. And we are down to now 2 laps to go here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Wes Shire, the lead is down to a half second. Is Ben Carswell going to challenge for the win? White flag is out, 1 lap to go here at Myrtle Beach. Shire off into turns 3 and 4. Twin checkers in the air, and Wes Shire gets the win at Myrtle Beach. Great run for Ben Carswell. He's going to come home second. We've got carnage in turn 1. Jason Owens involved. Jason Miller, I believe, involved. Nate Siefker will round out your podium here tonight. After the pit stop.
Verstappen situation.
After the pit stop, Andrew Berry will come home in the 11th position.
Man, I feel like Andrew Berry and I can sympathize. We're going to have an emotional support group. All right, here comes donuts.
Wes Shire is an absolute maestro of turning donuts in these cars. He gets on a flat-ish patch of asphalt, and he can absolutely turn just fantastic donuts. Oh, but look at that. Gonna pull it into victory lane, get it all nice and squared up for the cameras. That's how you do it right there. Wes Shire picking up the race win tonight. And before we get to our victory lane interviews here, let's take a look at your results. Shire, Carswell, and Siefker make up the podium, followed home by Simon Fell and James Watson with a couple of top fives. Stephen C. Thompson, AJ Camargo, Vic Aldrich, James Curtis, and Joseph Heath round out the top 10. Heath, the first car, 1 lap down. Andrew Berry, Jason Owens finishing 11th and 12th, 1 lap behind the leader. Jason Miller and Robert Drew, 4 laps down, 13th and 14th, respectively. Tommy Cook, Dakota Mata, Dakota DeMeg, Derek Castor, J.W. Miller, Brian Labarge, all going out early in this one, as did Zach Nurenberger. Corey Hartz and R.J. Hetke did not start here this evening. So let's take a look. Let's see. Trying to find where I want to start the victory lane interviews from here. Yeah, here we go. We can do this one. Let's pick up, let's see, we'll start our interviews with, I think, our third place finisher here tonight, Mr. Nate Siefker. And I'll tell you what, Nate, the car looked really, really good. It was kind of interesting that it seemed like you were getting a little bit wobbly there on tires late in this one. Was it just a case of burning the stuff up a little bit too quickly?
Sorry, I didn't hear any of what you just asked me. My bad.
Oh.
Something was wrong with my headset.
Oh, it's all right, brother. Asking about it seemed like the car was really good early in the run. Later in the run, it seemed like it was a real handful. Was it just a case of burning the tires up too early in that run?
Yeah, I was doing everything I could to pass Andrew there. I wasn't really trying to save my tire because I thought we'd get a yellow to help hit the heat cycle, and we didn't get that, so I didn't get a chance to try that out. And I'm not used to this car yet. I'm still learning. So I could have probably saved the tire a little bit better, like Wes and Ben did. But yeah, I didn't have it tonight. I'll take third though. I mean, I have no complaints about running where I did there at the end.
Yeah, and quite frankly, in terms of how the season is shaping up for you here, this is a third-place finish, and it becomes the drop week with already having 2 wins on the season. You got to be feeling pretty good here. We get a couple of weeks off. You're going to get a chance to turn some laps, and then we're going road course racing out at Willow Springs. What are your thoughts on that as we head into the break here?
I love road course racing, so I'm very excited about that. So hopefully I'm not bought the track, so I'll buy the track probably tonight and just do a couple laps just to get an idea of what I'm dealing with. But I'm very excited for that. I'm excited for how the rest of the season is going. So it's a good problem to have when your drop week's still a podium. So hopefully we kind of just keep the momentum going, just keep these results rolling, and keep building on it from there.
All right, brother. Well, congratulations on the podium here tonight. And before we let you go here, let's make sure you get in all the sponsor plugs and thank yous.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys up here for being in the booth. It's awesome to watch these races back. Hopefully my car was out in there for a little bit tonight, it's fun to have. Thank all the admins for being here as well, for putting this on. Really, really great group of guys here. Thank all the guys that raced with tonight. It was really fun racing there. I spent a lot of it in no man's land there at the beginning, just sitting in fourth because the top 3 were just way quicker than me, and then racing with Andrew there was pretty awesome. And then just thank Team Watson Racing setups and the Team Watson Racing as a whole. Thank you guys.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us up here in the booth. And let's see if we can bring in our runner-up finisher tonight here, Mr. Ben Carswell. And, man, I'll tell you what, Ben, it was one of those deals where it looked like it was going to be a battle between Wes and Andrew late in this one. And all of a sudden, Andrew's pitting, and you're a half second back from claiming a win. You got to be pretty jacked up here.
It's been a really nice couple nights. Top 5 in rounds and then a second place finish here. So yeah, pretty great. I was giving it everything I had the last few laps, and Wes had just a little bit more tire than I did, I think, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't know that I would have caught him even if we had a few more laps, but it's close.
Yeah, and ultimately really gave the car a good run. You started to make up ground on Wes. Were you thinking about where you could possibly attempt to pass, or was it more of just a hold on to this thing and make sure we bring it home on the podium?
I hadn't really thought that far ahead. I was just trying to see if I could even get enough pace out of it. The high side, getting a run around the high side seemed to be the way to pass the whole night. I made up a ton of time on restarts doing that. I made up like 3 spots in the initial start, 4 laps we had there at the beginning. Just running the high side, just because there was so much momentum and so much grip there. So that was probably going to be the only move I had, was try to like diamond take a later exit on the corner and really power to his outside and pin him down there and affect his exit. But he had so much more tire than me. I think he still would have got a good run off.
Well, it was definitely a fun show to watch you guys put on here, and man, thanks for putting on the show for us. We appreciate it, brother. And before we let you go here, let's make sure you get a chance to do any of the sponsor plugs and thank yous that you want to get in.
Well, thank you to y'all at National Racing Network, obviously, for broadcasting and being such great partners. Thank you to Wes, who's taken on a bigger role in helping kind of make the league schedules and do a lot of the admin work, and actually ran his baseline setup tonight. So thank you to him for that. And Team Watson Racing, obviously, for being a great place to practice and get tips and tricks. So yes, thank you to those 3 individuals and groups.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here up in the booth. And now it's time for us to talk to our race winner tonight, Mr. Wes Shire. And, man, I'll tell you what, we saw you charging, but it was kind of like there's no way he's going to have the pace to catch Andrew here. And all of a sudden, Barry's on pit lane. What's going through your head when you see that pop up on the relative?
I was baffled. I had settled for second place, and to be frank, I was surprised I even made it up to second. And then I just see Barry like a couple seconds up the road. I'm like, I thought he was a little further ahead. Maybe he's just backing it up, saving a little extra tire. And then I see him pull on pit road, and I was speechless. But I'll take it. I certainly won't complain about that.
Yeah, actually, the headline this past weekend from Williams Grove Speedway was "A dub's a dub, no matter how you get it," and that's kind of the case tonight. But this is really a race that could be a springboard for you in terms of how you're thinking championship. I know you're one of those guys that doesn't do a lot of big picture type thinking, but man, you were sitting 8th in points. You're picking up a race win here, which is going to be worth 45 plus for the lap sled and everything else. You get, I guess, a couple of weeks now to enjoy that, and then you got to start testing for Willow Springs.
Yeah, time to go be wildly off pace at Willow Springs. And, hopefully things will go well. Hopefully that won't be my drop week, but I have a hunch that'll be my drop week.
Well, we will find out here, I guess, in 3 weeks' time when we head back here. Congratulations again on the win here, Wes. And before we let you go, make sure you do all the sponsor plugs and thank yous.
Yeah, as always, got to thank you guys for the broadcast. Big shout out to everybody who came out tonight. This was a tough track and a tough race, and by far the hardest thing we've done in Shock. So really, really good on everybody for keeping it clean for most of it. A little bit of a couple cautions in the middle, but yeah, nothing too egregious. So, other than that, yeah, big shout out to Homestead Coffee, keeping me awake and alert enough to somehow win this race. No idea how, but I'll take it. And yeah, all around, real good night, I think.
Yeah, I think you guys put on a pretty darn good show here. We kind of got about what we expected. Wes, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here up in the booth for a minute. And as we go back to the live look and the scenic views here around the late Myrtle Beach Speedway, Brian, we'll come to you first on this one. Having done a bunch of driving in this car and prepping for this race tonight, do you feel like we got about what we were expecting to get tonight?
I think so. Everyone kind of had the feeling that there was going to be, a small sliver of cautions. Like no one expected it. This race to go full green, but I think that the amount of strategy involved, not only for this race but for all of the other races, has really come to the fore. You definitely saw it here, with, I'm assuming, Andrew running out of gas, but you have to make those mental calculations about how much tires you save, how much fuel you run, all of those types of things. And then when you combine that with a track like this that's going to be a little more aggressive with your tires, it really opens up the possibility for a race where not everybody is just stuck in single file train, all the same strategies, where it really comes down to just how well you drive. It's also how well you drive, but it's also how well you manage your own race and manage your own situation. So it played out, I think, exactly where as everyone thought. Everyone was going to be on a different strategy, and how it all comes together at the end was really going to be something interesting to watch, and I think it kind of came out around what we thought.
Yeah, and Bizzle, that really speaks to the changes that were made before this season of limiting the number of tires, changing the amount of fuel in the limit on these cars. It was designed to bring strategy into these races, and that is exactly what we're seeing tonight. Is you have to play the strategy game, and quite frankly, you have to nail it too.
Yeah, we're seeing drivers take risks. We saw Brian, unfortunately, on your end, run out of fuel last week. We saw Andrew Berry do it again this week. So you kind of got to be careful with the strategy. And with how close and competitive these guys are, you kind of have to pick it and commit to it. Because if you're popping in the pit lane each and every time we get a caution, you're just going to keep getting cycled to the back. So you kind of got to stick to your guns and hope it works.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting season for sure. Nate Siefker, now your points leader, sitting on 90 markers after 3 rounds of the season. The win tonight for Wes Shire moves him up into second position, 19 points back. James Watson sitting third in points after tonight's race with 64. Dakota DeMeg and Andrew Berry round out the top 5. Berry picking up 3 bonus points already on the season as well. This is going to be a really fun season. Berry, Jason Owens, Nagisa Yoshikawa all tied for 5th on 47. 8th place in points is Simon Fell on 46. And that's only still keeping everybody within 1 race of being at the top of the charts. So you start factoring as the drop weeks factor in. This is really going to be an interesting season. We're looking forward to all of it. These guys will be back in a couple of weeks' time. I guess it'll be 3 weeks' time, returning on October 17th from Willow Springs. But we've got a lot of racing action coming up this weekend and the rest of this week here on the National Racing Network. Tomorrow night it will be the Sim Racers Club from Daytona International Speedway running round number 3 of their fall season. Racing action will kick off right here at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Coming up on Thursday night, the Stars and Cars of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship will also run their round number 3. That one will be a 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time kickoff for that one. And then this weekend, you can find us on Dirt2Media.tv. we will be handling the broadcast from Airport Speedway, Newcastle, Delaware. 4 classes of micro sprint racing coming up there. And as part of the subscription, you also get the Deuces Wild Shootout coming from US 24 Speedway in Indiana. $12,000 to win, 600 micro sprint race. Going to be a great show from those guys out there, and we're looking forward to heading down to Airport here this weekend as well. But with that, time for us to get the heck on out of here. Great show tonight. Brian, thank you very much for, quite frankly, sucking it up and heading up into the booth here with us. And Bizzle, feel well, man. If you need to, take the night off tomorrow. Get well, buddy.
I'm okay. I've got some pain going on my knee, so it's a little difficult to push the pedals in for some racing tonight.
Okay. Well, all right, buddy. Well, you feel better, and everybody else, we will see you all coming up here tomorrow night. For Brian, Bizzle, and everybody else here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.